Uh, Fine. Okay. Welcome everyone to the new session of Python. So I think Python is quite familiar. It is quite favorite language for everyone nowadays. So today I'm going to present about the Python, the basic of Python and why is it so popular and how we can make use in the object-oriented programming. When we say object-oriented programming means like a class, how can we create an object, how can we access the methods, variables, and how we can inherit the base class, multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, everything. And along with that, we will also learn about the namespace and the scoping. That is also important. So starting with the Python, the very famous line by Guido van Rossum, he's the creator of the Python language. The the quotation about the quote about the Python, he said about the joy of coding Python should be in seeing short, concise, and readable classes that expose lot of action in a small amount of clear code, not a ream of travel code that bores the reader to death. So he's quite emphasized about the how you're reading the code. It should not be bored enough, like people are lost while reading the code. So he tried to solve this problem in especially in Python, and that is because Python is quite so much popular. So in this agenda, in today's agenda, we'll cover about like what is Python, why it is so popular, features, because feature is make it beautiful. So we'll read about the features and where is the Python used in industry, and classes and object in Python. This is for the OOPS, and how we can use Python in our career path. So to start with Python, Python is a general purpose high level interpreted language with easy syntax and dynamic semantics. So general purpose language means it can be used for anything. Like you can use for reading text, numbers, images, reading images, and you can perform any operation which you like to do. And second one is it's a high level language. So high level language means like you don't have to deal with any low level assembly instruction, machine specific details, or any minute thing. You can perform uh, like a high level language the other programming provides you the same thing you can perform in Python as well. And the main feature about this one is like about the Python, they said like readability. It's very easy to read. The one thing you can like you can notice like in the Python you don't have the curly braces. All is about the indentation. So that will make the code more readable, because if you're using the like curly braces, you will be lost unless until you have a good editor. If you're writing in a notepad, then if you're writing a curly braces, you will be lost. So that has been kept around. And it's interpreted language means it's executed, the code is executed one by one. So there is a difference between interpreter and the compiler. In the case of compiler, like other language, which it compile first, and after that it will produce the executable like exe in case of .NET, and Java like jar. Then you can load the jar or exe and that you can perform. But in this case, in the Python, it's interpreted and it will be running like one by one. Interpreter will run your code one by one. And taking the advantage of interpreter, like you have a dynamic. So when I say dynamic means like it's not the static type like other language, like for example C++, you have to first declare what is your data type, then you can use it. Here you just define and you can make use of that one. So that is more beneficial, and because of that it's quite in high demand. Some of the benefits of the dynamic, since we are talking about, it's like it will it will be very small source code, and it will be quicker to read because you don't have to go up and down to see what is the data type. And it's a quick turnaround when any code changes need to be done. So that can be done like very efficient way. And because of these properties also, like it also helps in your live debugging like interpreter. It also helps in your live debugging, and because of this it is able to perform, like Python is able to perform like more productive than other languages. And okay, and just for information, the Python is not new. It's in the like it's quite a few times, like more than 20 years. I would say like 30 years, but it was not so popular. It has become popular in like last one decade, you can say, when the like your like machine learning or artificial intelligence has come. So because of that, it bounces back and it makes your work more productive and much more easy. The reason, the like reason I said, like it's amazing because of its amazing computing power, where we want to work more to be done more productive, even if it is taking longer time as compared to other language. So that is one of the reason. And about the history, it was the creator has started like he has started something around like 1989. He has started writing the interpreted for the scripting languages, and the first release was done on the 1991. And after that, after a decade, like 2000, the 2.0 has been released, and here the major changes has been done with respect to your memory management. And in between 1991 to 2000, there was so many releases has been done, but it was done a kind of uh, like a kind of sub release. It was not a major release. And after a again after a decade, like something around 2008, here like 3.0 or Python 3K, we also say like Python 3K has been released, and it is also made as a, like a backward compatible to 2.6 and 2.7. Like anybody is using 2. Anybody has written the code of 2.6 or 7, it will work for the 3.0 also. So that has kept on mind. And coming to the like usage of this one, in 2000, like in 1999, the Star Wars, the like Star Wars movie, the Python was used as a scripting language to help the special effect in the movie. And in the same year, like Anaconda, that was like it's kind of installer, new installer to the Red Hat Linux. It was also created in Linux. And in 2003, the modeling app Blender 2.26, it's a kind of add-on. All the add-on is written in using the Python. But the major, as I said, like over the last 10 years, it was done in the Google App Engine. Here, the Python was one of the first major language supported for building apps on the Google App Engine. So it was the major advantage of the Python. And nowadays, since you are hearing about the machine learning, like there are so many algorithms written using the Python, so it's ready to make. Like you just have to use it. It's just like a plugin, and you start using that one. So that is the major advantage. Okay, coming to the popularity, like for anything, like why Python is so much popular. So first one is easy. So for beginner, it is one of the best language to start with, especially for the beginner. And because of its easy syntax, high level features, which make it more popular. And you will be surprised to know, like it is more popular not only for the software developer, but also for the mathematician, scientist, and like data analyst, accountant, in network engineering. The reason why I'm saying, because it is quite helpful in doing the automation. So you don't have to be software engineer to do any kind of automation. Even the network engineering, they want to do, suppose they want to read any file, they want to copy any file, they can write a script using the Python and they can perform the task. And even for the kids also, nowadays it's becoming so much popular because of its easy syntax. You don't have to worry about much more things. Like it is very high level language. So because of that, it's becoming more popular. It's very easy. And second, popular is like apps. So for the apps, you can say like it can be used to make anything. It can be used to make like GUI application, web application, mobile application, server side code, artificial intelligence, machine learning, algorithms. Like you can name it, you can get it everything. And the third one is like free. So that is the most important, like it's open source, where like you can download, you can make it work according to you. You can make some modification because it's open source, it's free. And the last one is library and the support. Like it has a great community support. Like even if you have any problem, you just raise your concern, somebody will be there to help you out. And there is a number of library which you can, as I said, like there are number of library which you can make, is it's ready to use for your need. You can and because of that it will make your work more productive. In the, like as I given the example of machine learning algorithm, it's already available. So there are many algorithm available which is ready to use. And because of like syntax, it doesn't uh, focus more on the syntax because of the dynamic also. So you have to write very less code. So main thing is like you have to write your, like any developer or any person has to focus on the problem solving area rather than any syntax related things. So that is the uh, some of the reason it's becoming more popular. Okay, so for the features of Python, yeah, for the features of Python, like features makes, why we are reading about the features, because the features makes the language more attractive. So for the features, the first one is simplicity. It's more well known as the, like one of the like well known feature which has make this Python more popular among the programming, because it's a right, it's like a writing like doing programming, it's becoming a fun. It's make you think about the solution rather than doing any like syntax problem kind of thing. You just solve your problem. So that like any developer can concentrate in that part. Second one is open source. Like it's open source, so you can download and you can make your changes as per your need, and you can it's ready to use for as per your need. Third one is portability. Portability means you can write your code in one of the machine and you can ship to any other one, and the whatever it's running in your machine, it will behave in the same in the other machine. So that is the portability. So it's not like operating system is specific. If I'm writing in Windows, the same thing will work on the Mac or Linux. And the next one is embedded and extensible. Like, okay, you can say some of the languages which is working very fast. So it has a provision, like Python has a provision to embed that code within the Python so that you can make use of it. And like one of the small thing about the creator, why he has kept in mind, because he was working in ABC scripting, language scripting, and there was the challenges like it cannot be extended or embedded with some other code. So big, and to keep in mind it, Python was written in that way. Next one is interpreted, like Python is interpreted line by line, which makes the memory management much more easier. And the coming to the huge library, the next popular feature, like it's a huge number of library support that will solve your problem in best efficient way. And you can like you can start your web application data scientist project very easily because there is a huge rich library ready to use. You can make use of it. And the last one is object oriented. It can be like, it also helps in like multi paradigm, like it's Python is a object oriented as well as the structure oriented also. So with the support of object oriented means like you can model real world problem into the code with better security. You can add on with your add-on security, you can make use of it. So that is the feature. Now coming to the industry, like where it is used. So first one is the Google one. As you see, like whenever you do a search, so it's coming based on the ranking. So that is the that thing has been done in the Python, make use in a Python language. It's one of the most well like Google as the most well-known tech giant. So that they are also using the Google Python. The second one is the Dropbox, which is like a cloud platform where you can save the data, and here the server code and the client application code is written in Python. The Netflix, like everybody is aware of, like it use the machine learning with the Python to know the user's choice and cluster them like together in a groups and recommend them. Like, okay, you can also watch this kind of like this kind of movie or like anything. And the next one is like for the National Security Agency, like they are using the Python for the cyber security analysis and other encryption and description of your decryption of your data. Same like BitTorrent, which is used for the peer-to-peer transfer of your data. So they are also using the Python. And the last one is like NASA, like they are using Python as a for their a kind of scientific calculation, which helps to reduce time and make their work more productive. So apart from that, like I have listed some of the famous one, and these some others are like YouTube, Mozilla, all these are using the nowadays they are started using the Python. And before this, okay, I would like to show you some of the popularity since we are talking about. So here you can see. So if you can see about like this is the Stack Overflow. So these you can see like Python, who all developer wanted this one. So you can see like 30% developer had make their choice. They have expressed their interest in Python as compared to the other languages. And same like PYPL. So this is nothing but like popularity of the programming languages. So here you can see like Python ranks #1, and it has like 2.2% has been like over the period over the last 1 year, it has increased in the 2.2 percentage. Okay. And okay, yeah. Okay, so these are the things. Now coming back to the object-oriented programming. So first thing is like to do any programming, what you have to do first, you have to download a Jupyter. So it's very simple. Like you can go into the Anaconda and you can download from the Anaconda distribution. So it will provide you the exe based on your exe or based on your environment, like it will support. So if I'm going over here, so you can download. You can install Anaconda here, whether it's a Windows, Mac OS or Linux. You can install, and after install, you will be provided with your Jupyter notebook. So once you click on that one, you will be getting this shell, and you have to do like you have to take this URL and you have to paste it over there. So that will open your Jupyter notebook. And there you have to select, if you are writing anything, there you have to select which language you want to. So you can choose like Python 3K or Python 3. So it's very simple. Like here, I can show you. So I can choose and it will open a new notebook and I can write whatever I want. Okay. So to start the object oriented, the first thing is namespace. So namespace is quite popular. The reason behind about the namespace, like it is unnoticeable for the developer. It's not in notice, but however the program Python use by itself. For the namespace, it's a collection of names which holds the mapping of every name which we have defined with correspond to the object. So, for example, like if I coming to my, okay, I'll come to my example here first. So there are two type of namespace. One is the class namespace and another is instance namespace. So class namespace is like it will keep the namespace of your class corresponding to its variable, class variable. Instance namespace, it will keep the instance name corresponding to the instance variable. So there are three namespace over there. One is the built-in namespace, global namespace, and the local namespace. So building namespace is like it is created when the Python interpreted start and never deleted the built-in namespace. The global namespace is it is created when the module definition is loaded or read, and it is deleted when the interpreted quit. So that after that the global namespace will be no more available. And the local namespace, it is created when the function is called and it is deleted when the function is executed. When the function is unloaded, then your local namespace is gone. And this namespace is stored in a dictionary like key value pair. It is very important because it will make sure any namespace used in the program, any name used in the program are unique and can be used without any conflict. Suppose I'm using a like a name in a in one function course, and the same name is used in another function, the Python program will not confused. Because of this namespace they are keeping, okay, this is for this particular function, for example, variable A, and the same variable B has been used in another one. So it will keep the mapping of that one. So it will never be, there will be no conflict. So for example, here you can see like it's a global namespace variable. So it will keep as a like name key value pair as a global and the values. And these are the local. So this will be local namespace. When the program will, this foo program will be read, this will be loaded and this will be kept, and after that it will be deleted. Similarly for the other one. So coming to the example, like I have a class employee and I have one variable 30. Age is equal to 30. So here you can say like I have a name and this is the value. So this is the class namespace. And out of that one, I have created two instances. One is the developer and another is a manager. So developer is the employee, manager is also employee. And by default, it will point to the same age, like it will be like 30, the value will be 30, but it will be pointed into your instance namespace of each, like for the developer and for the manager. Now coming to the, if I print employee.age, it will print me 30, developer.age, same thing, manager.age 30, same thing it will print. But here, if I'm changing the employer.age 35, then it will affect to all others. So if I'm printing if I'm changing this 30 to 35, it will impact everyone. So if I'm saying like developer.age, because it's pointing to the same one, it will be printing by 35, manager.age 35, because age is the global one. So, and this instance is pointing to the global one. So that's why it will impact everyone. Now, if I am saying developer.age equal to 32, so I have changed. So new namespace will be created for this instance for the developer, and it will point to 32. And for all others, it will be pointing to the same. So for example, if I'm saying employee.age, it will be 35. Developer, since I have changed, it will be 32. Manager, it will be same like 35. So that is all about the namespace. But as I said, like it's unnoticeable for the developer, but it's important to know how they are maintaining the name inside the program, why it is important, so that you can name your variable. It's nothing like you have to scared of like using same name in the different method. You are free to write. And along with that one, like namespace, we have something called scope. So for the scope, I have written one program. So I'll just go through the program here. So here, for example, yeah, for example, I have written one method. So def is nothing but defining your method. So def is the keyword. I'm writing a method scope. And another, I have a nested one. So def local function. And here I have given a name variable as this one. And for the another function, global function, and here I have said like global keyword, I made use of global keyword, and I have said name, and name equal to a global function variable. Now what I did, like out of this, I have kept this name variable. I kept the name as like this is my variable, and I'm calling this one like I'm printing the name, this name. Then I'm calling this local function. I'm printing the again the same variable and the global function, and then we will see what is the impact, what how the scope will come into the picture. So as the scope, there can be like multiple scope. So what happens, like I'm calling my function scope. So what will happen once I'm calling my function, it will go to the scope and it will again come to the name here, and first will be like first call will be this is the first call and it will print this is my variable. So as you can see, first call is this is my variable. Now again I am calling local function, so it will go to the local function, the controller will go to the local function, and the name will be changed to local function variable. But here once it will come out, my scope is gone because this name is only valid to this local function. It is not valid outside. So now again I'm printing the name, it will be same. This is my variable. So whatever I have here, it will be printing the same one. Now coming to the global function, this is very important. Coming to the global function, once I go over here, it says global name and name equal to global function variable. And if I'm printing this one, okay, if I'm printing this one, I get the same value. This is my global, this is my variable. So see, it is not getting changed. Now what I did, I just said print name. So this become global function variable. The reason is like, as you understand, this is my local function. So the validity of this variable will be inside this local function. But for the global function, when I say global keyword, what it will do, it will make this name value globally. So it will go and search globally, means outside here. If there is nothing, if there is anything, then it will change the variable. If there is nothing, then it will create a global variable. So that's the reason when I called my scope function and after that I call my print name, it has given me global name variable. Now you can see the impact. I'm saying I'm calling my scope function. It has gone to the scope. I'm calling all my function. Oh, sorry. Now I'm calling all my function. Uh, yes. Here you can see it has made the global function here. The global function variable. Because I have said like interpreter has already made this as a global. So that's the reason you are able to see the name variable, the print name global function variable, even though my code has been commented out. So that name variable has become global. That's the reason. So this is all about the scope. Okay, now the scope is also important because during the writing any like any function or variable, you should know what is the scope of this variable, whether it's a local one or it's a global one. If local one is something like I'm overriding, if I'm using say for example, here in my case, if I'm writing name equal to test here, and if I have written here, means now I'm changing my name variable, I'm overriding, but the scope will be within this function. And one more thing, as you have noticed during my as I said, like it's a dynamic. So here I'm not defining anything. What is the type of this one? It will take automatically. So here name is like a string. After that, if I can put name as a integer also. So that's a dynamic. So once, because it's reading line by line and it's doing their job. And this one is for the, just for the information for the namespace. So for example, as I said, like a equal to 2, and there is a method id which will tell you the RAM address. So here, for example, if I'm doing a equal to 2 and if I'm reading the RAM of like memory of this one, so here you can say it's pointing to the same location. I made a plus 1 and the memory has been changed over here. Now again I'm assigning the 2 to the b variable. You can see the same memory. So that is the namespace. So now coming to the Python classes. So Python class is nothing but it's a kind of template. Class is always a template, and it's a blueprint from which a specific object is the can be created. So here you can see I have a class which is like sample class. Here is my method, that is init method. It is a constructor which I am having the self and the name. So here self is kind of like pointer. It's a pointer to your instance. So here I'm saying like name, and here is my method. So func is my method, first method function, and here is I'm printing this one. So when I say x equal to, I'm passing this Python x name and the x function. I can call my variable here and I can call my method. So x is nothing but it's object. I'm creating a object out of this one. So coming to this one, so it's a very simple like, okay. So here what I'm doing, I'm creating a sample, I'm printing hello world. So it's printing my hello world. Now what I did, I moved this print inside this one func. So now nothing is printed because this print statement is become a part of your function. So how to access this one? We need a object. And some of the feature before I move to the object one, some of the feature of the class, like in Python, we don't have like a multiple constructor concept. If you are coming from the C# or Java, so there is only one constructor, that is the init one. It doesn't support the multiple constructor. And because of that, you cannot overload your constructor. So that is one of the thing. Now coming to the object, as I said, like object will encapsulate your variable and the function into single entity. So for example, this is my class. So I have to make access to everything. So what I can do, I can make a create one object. An object get their values and the function from the classes. So how it will get, like suppose I have a class and these are the attributes. For example, these are the attributes. It has a variable, methods, everything. So if I have to access this one, then I need to create a class object. So for the class object, these are the things. So as I said, like yeah, I'm creating a object out of sample and I'm calling my method. So here is my method, hello world. Hello world will be printed. And by the way, like as you can see, like I'm making use of my Jupyter, so I don't have to install any other IDE. It's very easily available and very fast learner if you want to learn. Otherwise, like you have to install everything. It's a like web based and it's very easy to learn and do any kind of prototype. Now coming to the constructor, like it's init method. This is my constructor, default constructor. So what I am doing here. So for example, so this is my sample method and this is my default constructor. I am passing the name. So Python x.name, it will be printing x.name. And again, I am accessing my method, func method. So it will print my hello world. So here also I can do print x.name. So Python and hello world will be printed. Okay, so and here I can change my variable also. So for example, this is my sample method and here is I'm creating the instance of this one and x.name. If I print this one, it will take my default one, which is inside there. So x.name, whatever the name I have, suppose I want to change. So I can do one thing, I can do x.course as a like, okay, x.name and here I can do print x.course. So it will be printed Python and data science by default. Suppose I want to change, so I can change it over here, and again I can do print x dot course. So it will be machine learning. It will become machine learning here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here what I'm doing, I'm overriding. I'm overriding this value. So suppose you have any variable, default variable here. If you want to overload, if you want to make any changes, you can do your changes over here. And this is called like, okay, another thing is like you can create your method object also. For example, I have this sample method, I have this default one in it, and I have initialized self.name and the course Python and data science, and this is my method. So suppose this is my, once I'm calling the this x.func, this is my function, I can store in my function object. So again, if you want to see, I'm calling my x.func and I'm calling this function. So you can store your function inside your function object. Now coming to this one, instance variable. So instance variable is so here what you're doing, like I have a sample and I have one method. Def is my method, like it's a constructor, default constructor. So here I'm creating one object, one variable here, one instance here, one object, and these are my value. And again I'm creating another one, and these are my values. So here you can see I have a two object, meaning like I have a two different object. I have one class but two different objects, meaning like this class is behaving like a template for me. It's like a blueprint, and out of that one I'm creating my instance. I have creating my different objects, and I'm overriding my value. So for example, this one I'm putting Python programming and Python, and second one I'm doing Python programming and R. So based, and it will call my same class but with my own value, and based on that one it will behave. Now coming to the next one, inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but like it's a method of inheriting the properties of parent class to the child class. So it's one of the important concept everywhere. In fact, not in Python. It's like one of the important topic for all object-oriented programming. The main reason is there are two main reason. One main reason is like reusability of your code. Suppose, for example, I have two classes, and in both the classes I am writing the almost the same function, same behavior, same function. So instead of writing the duplicate code in the both, I can create one base class and I can inherit from that class to the both child class. The advantage will be, suppose I'm changing any method over there, I can do it one place. Or if I have to change the minute change in like one of the class, I can override that method and I can do in my own specific derived class. Okay, so this is one of the maintainability is one of the main advantage of having the inheritance. So here you can see I have a parent class attribute and I have a child class attribute. So all the properties of your parent will be inherited over in your child one. And here I am creating my child class object. So here you can see I can access my child class as well as I can access all my properties and the methods of my parent class. And when I say attribute means it will cover your variables, it will cover your function, everything. So how to do this one? So if I'm going into my inheritance, so here I have created a parent and this is my function one, and here is my child, and here I'm inheriting from my parent. So child is inheriting from my parent and I have my function two. So I'm creating an object of my child, and here I can call function one and function two. Both the function I can call. So you can see this is called from, this is child class method and this is my parent class method. I'm able to call both. So suppose I have another one like child one. If I'm creating another child one, for example, child two I'm creating. So I can create another one, obj child two, and I have to give another variable. Yeah, obj one dot, and I can call one function. Function two, for example, I'm calling. So this is my child function. So advantage is like suppose this particular function, which if I don't have the inheritance concept, then what will happen? I have to write this function one in my child and child 2 both. So in order to avoid this one, what I did, I created one base class. This is my parent class, and I have done the inheritance. So I pass this my parent to both my child. So that is the biggest advantage. So this way you will write less code. You will write your maintainability will be very high. And suppose you have to override anything, you can just override. Suppose I have a function of 1 over here, and I have another child, and suppose I have two function 1 and function 2 in my parent, and suppose function 1 I want to override. So simply you can go into your child and you can do the override if you want to override your child like method behavior. So coming to the inheritance, so there are two kind of inheritance. One is the multiple inheritance, and the another is your multi-level. So multiple inheritance, some other language like Java and especially for the C Sharp, they don't support the multiple inheritance. But the multiple inheritance is like you have a two parents, parent 1 and parent 2, and your child is inheriting from both the parents. So for example, this is my multiple inheritance. So I have created parent 1 and parent 2. I have this function 1 and function 1, and this is my child 1. So here I'm inheriting from parent 1 and parent 2. I'm calling my another function here. So here what I can do, I'm creating one object child and function 2. So what will happen in this case? Function 2 is not there. Okay, function 2 is not there. Okay. So this is child class, and suppose I want to call function 1. So function 1 is available here. So this will be called from function 1. So you notice one thing, I have same method over here, function 1 and function 1 in parent 1 and parent 2, but it has called the this parent class, parent 1 class. The reason behind, because I have called this one here first. So suppose I am just swapping this one. So you can see parent 2 class. So it is very well managed. But this is not the case in other one. Like in the C sharp, they don't support this one, like multiple inheritance. The simple reason is like diamond problem. So here you can see I have one parent class, and B and C class inherited from my A both, and I have another class which is inherited from B and C. Okay. Now I have one question. Suppose I have one method over here, function 1, which I have done the overloading in B and C. By the way, overloading, like overloading of your function means, like suppose I have one behavior, I have one function, but I am overloading. I am changing the behavior of this function in my B and in my C. Now what will happen, that is called overloading. Now suppose I have to call from D, I have to call the overloaded function, then which function it will call? So it is getting confused, either B or C, which function it has to be called. But in Python, as I have shown you, if I am putting my parent 2 here, the first one, then it will be called from my parent 2. If I'm putting from parent 1, then it will be called from my parent 1. That is the preference has been given. Now the next one is your multi-level. So multi-level means, as the name says, like level wise, like multiple level. It can go to the multiple level and number of level. So suppose I have any base class and I have another child class. So that is derived from the base class. Again, I can write another child class that can be derived from the base class and the derived class. The advantage will be here, like I can have the access to this derived class. I have the access to this base class also. So that is the biggest advantage. So for example, if I have to go here, so this is my parent 1 and this is my parent 2. So parent 2, it is derived from from my parent 1, inherited from my parent 1. So just like this one, this is parent 1, parent 2, and I have a child which is derived from my inherited from my parent 2. So suppose I'm calling object here. So I'm creating a one instance, one object of child. I'm calling my function 3. So this is called from function 3. So now here what I can do, I can do object dot function 1. See, I am able to take the properties like I can access my properties of my base class since the function 1 is the first one. So I'm calling here. Now suppose I'm doing my changes function 2. I'm just changing this one. Function 2 obj dot function 2. So it is able to call all the function starting from your top level from your base. So I'm able to call my parent again to this one. Another one is suppose I can create the instance of this one also. I can create my instance of parent 2. So this is my instance and I can do function 1 and suppose I'm doing function 1 here. So this is parent 2 and here I cannot do function 3. I can show you function 2. I can call my function 2 here. Okay, it is called, but I cannot do my function 3 obj dot function 3. I cannot do. The reason behind because this is comes under the child class. So this is the error you're getting. It has no attribute function 3 because the simple reason is because parent is not inherited, like it's a base class for the child one. So that's the reason you cannot access this one. Okay, so these are the concept like you have, as I have shown you, like creating the class, then creating the like how to access the class. So class is nothing but it's a template. Now we have to access the all the properties and the behavior of your class. Then I can make use of my object. Now after that, making more reusability, I can make use of my inheritance. Then I can take the advantage of multiple inheritance. Suppose I have two like two parents, then I can inherit it from the both the parents. And last one is like multi-level. So I have a number of class. Then I can do my derive from the number of classes over there in multiple stages. So based on your need. But again, I said like don't fall into the diamond problem. Even though Python support, but don't design your like class in this way. So better take take the advantage of your basic. If you have, if at all you have to do, then better create another class and make the problem, solve your problem. So these are the OOPS concept. And now coming to the like learning path, since the you know about the Python and the basics of the Python. So how you can make your Python in your learning path. So for the Python, first of all, you have to start with the Python basics. Like first of all, like what is Python, why it is needed, why it is so popular kind of thing. Then you can go with the basics of the Python. Then after that, you have to learn about the variables, array, flow control, like all the loops, for loop, while loops, methods in the method, how to call any method. Then the file handling, like to read any file, to modify any file. So this can help you in, during the like any kind of automation, file handling. Then once you are familiar with all this basic concept, then you can go with the OOPS concept. So that will be helpful to create any applications. Then after all, once you are comfortable, then you can go to the next step, making use of your own library, because Python is very fast, very fast growing, and it is having a huge library support. And as I said, like it is becoming more popular because of your like machine learning algorithm and the artificial intelligence. So because once you are familiar with this one, so the next step you can think about using your machine learning algorithm. So that is all about I have today for the Python. Any question? You can ask any question if you have. Okay, for the free e-learning, like generally I found in like in YouTube, you can get lot of resource for the Python uh, about the e-learning. There are a lot of resource available, starting from the basic to the advanced one. So I am choosing Python because I have to do as a part of data analysis. As you know, like in your like in your big data, you have something called PySpark. So PySpark is given by the Python like to load your data, to analyze your data. So because of that, I'm learning this one. So my next step will be uh, to make use of this Python languages in the big data, like in the big data world, in the machine learning. Like ultimately, it will go to machine learning. But anyway, like whatever the code I have written for the basic one, I can share with you after this session. But as I said, like Python is very easy. It's quite popular among everyone, like not only for the software developer, it's popular for the, because of your simplicity, it's popular for the like mathematician, even for the kids programming also nowadays, like 5 to 6 years old, they have started the Python. So it's very simple. For the YouTube channel, okay, mainly you can go to the Edureka if you want. You can go to the Edureka. Some of the preview, it's available, or you can go for the Mosh, another one like it's YouTube channels. So there you can find out many more. For the Python library, yes, it's available in the Python official website. You can make use of that one. And by the way, like Python is very rich in library. So it's having a huge community support, and they are every day they are making a lot of library, and they are enhancing the existing one. So try to make use of that one. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'll take as a no. If you don't have any question, then we can close this session. And like in future, as I said, like I'm working for the data analysis. So if I have anything to share, I will share with you guys.